Hello and welcome to the Cinegeeks Podcast, where movies, TV, and all things geek collide. I'm Roy, once again joined by the one and only Angela.
Hi!
Hey Angela. So today we are in for a very exciting conversation because we will be talking about the second season of one of the greatest shows on television right now, which is FX's The Bear.
Yes.
And the show, for those who aren't aware, features an ensemble cast that includes now Emmy nominees Jeremy Allen White, Eben Moss Backrack, and Ayo Edibiri, to name a few.
But before we continue, we just like to take time to thank every single one of that 1,000 and counting followers that we have over on our Facebook page. Again, that's Cinegeeks Podcast. We're loving this opportunity to be able to have a conversation with all of our fellow Cinegeeks about the movies, TV, and all things geek that make our geek world go round.
Yes, that's right. And also, we have a couple of announcements. We will now be releasing new episodes of the podcast every Tuesday on top of our regular Friday release. So
Yes.
you have more episodes to consume before you join the Cinegeeks conversation. And also, we are now on YouTube.
That's right.
So if you don't have access to a podcast platform, you can just head on over to YouTube and search for the Cinegeeks Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the notifications bell so you don't miss an exciting new episode every Tuesday and Friday.
Yes.
All right. So now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about The Bear Season 2. So when we left off The Bear Season 1, we left it in somewhat state of not really disarray, but it kind of felt like the beginning of the Phoenix lifespan. Like it just burned up and now it's rising from its ashes. And after the almost fatal episode where they encountered problem after problem because of an error that one of them committed,
Right.
that one take episode, they were able to pick up the pieces and decide that they wanted to really just start from scratch. And I love that before they decided to continue with their fresh start, I love that they, took time to show that these people, actually really cared about each other and decided that accomplishing the greater good was more important than satisfying any personal grudges that they may have had over the course of their time working together. We begin season 2 right in the middle of them trying to set up the restaurant that would replace the original The Beef of Chicagoland that the lead character maintained for his deceased brother. But when season 1 ended, he decided that he wanted, again, that fresh start. And instead decided to pursue an old dream of his and his brother, which was to create The Bear.
The Bear, yeah.
Yes. So, what did you think of season 2 of The Bear?
Yeah, season 2 was more kinetic for me compared to season 1. It pushes forward the narrative to somewhere that all the characters have never been before. I think they put all the characters out of their comfort zones, from Carmi down to the other staff of the kitchen,
Yes.
even Richie.
Yes. Actually, for season 2, it's most especially Richie.
Yes.
I don't think this is a spoiler. And by the way, we will try to avoid spoilers as much as we can because we also want you to experience this for the first time if you haven't watched it yet, just like season 1. So, where season 1 for me was a season where they were all trying to feel each other out, so to speak,
Yeah.
with how they would, how they could work with each other,
Yeah.
how they could manage each other's personalities
And egos.
and egos, and even just the fact that they don't respect Carmi. The entire staff don't respect Carmi to begin with because they look at him as some sort of culinary snob.
Yeah.
Because if
Because of his background.
because of his background, yes. Him moving from New York to take over what basically is a diner
Yes.
after being part of the staff of so many Michelin star restaurants and being a Michelin starred chef himself.
Yeah. He's decorated.
He's a very decorated chef. So it's good that they got that out of the way.
Yeah.
And like what you said earlier, the feeling of everything being so kinetic. I appreciated that they didn't spend so much time in wallowing in the drama
True.
of their situation.
Yeah.
Instead, they followed the adage or the thought that actually is repeated so many times in season 2,
Yes.
which is every second counts.
True.
And it's funny because usually when you see television dramas, we discuss this
Yes.
with our season 1 review, where a lesser show would find the movement of the story in interpersonal conflict.
True. Like a soap opera.
Yes, like a soap opera. Here, the show still written and directed mostly by showrunner Christopher Storer.
Yes.
He and his team makes the story go forward with a focus on seeing how these people who are good at their jobs try to come together to create a greater sum of their parts.
Yes, that's right. Just to add to what you just said, yes, they are good at what they do. They're already good, but this season just challenges them to even be better.
To become even better.
Yes, there is room for growth even for the best of them. Carmi,
That's
right?
Yes.
So it's such a propulsive season because they were pushed to their limits. They were already good, but there are some things where they complement each other. Their worst impulses are being compensated by the other, and they really blend well together. Not one of them can stand alone for this to make it a success.
That's right.
Yeah, they need each other. That's my main takeaway.
Yeah. I appreciate how the show also doesn't write the guest stars of the season with such hero worship that sometimes other shows do,
Yes,
especially when they do stunt casting, which this season the Bear has a lot of
a lot.
big name guest
Like
stars.
a lot. Think of the
Yes.
biggest stars.
We won't say the names now because we want you to be surprised, especially one very star-studded episode.
Yes.
We'll get to that.
No spoilers.
No spoilers, but we'll touch upon that later on. There's one guest star here that I actually liked there, so as not to reveal the identity. I liked that their part in the totality of the story isn't to take the shine away from the main crew of the
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Their portion of the story was in service of making sure that one of our beloved crew members or team members of the Bear finds this quiet confidence in themselves as well
Yes.
by making that specific staff member understand that it's okay to not be the best, but just to make sure that you are within close proximity of who you think is the best. Because eventually, being around that person who you think is the best will lift you up to their level. Not because you want to overtake them, but because you just want to keep up. And that eventually, takes you to a level where you get better and better and better.
Yes, yes. You know what I said to you while we were watching? It's like this is a self-help show, self-affirming in a way, because you see how mentorships are supposed to be when it comes to you learning from a teacher.
Yes.
It's not a competition. It's not to surpass your teacher. It's just to be better than yourself yesterday. The other main lessons to learn here is that it's never too late to start over. Some of the best people we know, they all got to be the best because of the many failures they had to go through along the way. They had to make a lot of mistakes, a lot of failures, because that's how you learn.
I appreciate that this show didn't treat the people who are in the learning stage of their careers with disdain. And what I mean by that is they didn't show these people in a way where they wallowed in self-pity or they just questioned themselves nonstop. Of course, self-doubt will always be there
Yes.
in life. It's never going to go away. But what I liked about this season is when we have our team around people who are teaching them things that would help them grow in whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
They don't receive the lessons with a woe is me attitude. They don't look at the expertise in front of them as something insurmountable. They are open to the lessons that they get in the presence of these people who are better than them. And actually that's also the flip side of what we're praising about season 2.
Yeah.
Where earlier we were saying that we love that the show doesn't show the mentors in a very domineering and intimidating stature.
Yeah.
The people learning as well. I love that the show depicted them as being humble enough to know that they are learning.
And they have room to learn.
Yes, that's right. Another thing that I really appreciated about this is its commitment to depicting realism in terms of its characters' family bonds. They don't try to romanticize the concept of family
Or sugarcoat
or
it.
sugarcoat the bad sides. Whereas in season 1, we already got a taste of the relationships between Carmi, his sister Sugar, and even their quote-unquote adoptive cousin Richie.
Yeah.
And especially, of course, Michael. Their
The most important
most important.
relationship. Yeah.
Christopher Storer and his team. They made sure to find the realism as well, on top of making sure that it's still a drama. It's still dramatic. It's still not really functioning like a soap opera, but you still know that you're watching a show.
Yes. You say, and everybody says it's a comedy, when in fact it's a perfect blend of drama and comedy.
Yes.
But what I want to highlight about this show is that it never lost sight of food as its main theme, so to speak. Right? They haven't forgotten that this is a show about food and the people who prepare the food. And there is this one episode that really showed and really explored food in a way that, a foodie would.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. And also, to add to that, I think I also told you while we were watching that part where the show's strengths, again, showing realism, is on full display.
Yes.
The the parts where Sydney goes around the different restaurants in Chicago trying to get knowledge about, how they can run the restaurant properly.
Yes.
Because, I mean, it's not going to be, it's not her first time, but it's her first time running a restaurant with someone else. Because it's eventually revealed. I think this could be a spoiler, but I
It's
think
from
it's
season 1.
Yeah, I think I can say this. It's actually elaborated on
Season
upon
1.
season 2. A bit more detail is given about what happened,
Yes, yes,
but
yes.
it was alluded to in season 1.
Yeah.
So even it's eventually revealed that Sydney, the reason why she applied for a job at the Beef originally was because she hit rock bottom because of a failed business venture, failed solo business venture,
Yes, yes.
running a catering service. So now going to season 2, she, on this specific episode, she goes around the different restaurants in Chicago asking around with her friends. And by friends, I mean real life chefs,
Yes.
which is the awesome part about this show
Yeah, you can feel the beating heart of the city.
is food.
Yes. And also, just like in any other industry, you get to have industry people as friends and you talk to them, you consult them, and you ask them for advice.
Yes. And that's exactly what Sydney did.
Yes.
There are very, very important pieces of advice that she got from her chef and restaurateur friends. But the thing that really stood out to me during that montage is how the show chose to shoot that sequence like like a food documentary, like an Anthony Bourdain show.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, yes.
may he rest in peace. But it really it doesn't treat the story like like how you would watch a regular drama unfold.
If anything, it makes it even more real.
Exactly.
Right?
It knows that its main strength is showing you a slice of life.
Yes.
It's not taking you away from where you are to bring you to the world of the show, but it tells you that this could happen in your world.
Yes.
Actually,
yes.
it could even happen to you and your circle of influence. Not really specifically running a restaurant or having a whole kitchen staff as your friend, as your group of friends or even family members. But
Yes, yes.
the fact that you can be around people who are very good at what they do, and most probably, you're doing the same thing. The show doesn't shy away from making you understand that, well, eventually you're gonna get better if you keep on doing and practicing your craft. But it's okay to start at the bottom and work your way up and learn from the people who are better than you.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I would have loved to have this show available to me years ago as a very hot-headed young quote-unquote maverick
Yeah.
in what I did before. But again, being very passionate can only take you so far.
Well, you're seeing things through the eyes of one character.
True.
One that you can relate to. Exactly.
Yes,
in the same position.
Very much so.
Right? You even think that you're past your prime and you're too old to begin again, to be a beginner. It's the school of life. And you know what really got me was that lesson in there. It's never too late to start over. Because as you know, and as I've mentioned before, I used to be a professional singer and that's all I knew to do for almost 2 decades actually. And, things happened and pivoted me to a very different industry, to a very different league. And I was a beginner again. It just reminded me of that time when it was really hard in the beginning,
To
but
start again.
to start again. But yeah, every second counts. And every second you have an opportunity to just decide to pick yourself up and start over. Just be a beginner, learn again.
That's right.
And that's the reality of life. Nothing is permanent, and you just have to be proactive about it. And sometimes some people are better than you, and it's okay.
It's okay. And it's okay that, the best thing that you can do in following these people that are better than you is to learn from them and not resent the fact that you're not at their level yet.
Yeah, that you're not good enough yet, or yeah, it's okay to put that pressure off of yourself.
That's true.
It helps.
That's true. This character I was referring to earlier, they touched upon that concept of realizing that they're not the best, and that took the pressure off their shoulders
Yes, yes.
to want to be the best.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I felt that.
yeah, I did too. And it's funny because for the longest time in my previous line of work, the industry's core mindset is that of meritocracy.
Yeah.
You are rewarded for the work you do, whether you do a good job or not. That's the reality of it. So I used to always compare myself to these people that the higher ups said were better than me. And it irked me when I already saw myself as being quote unquote better than them, but unfortunately not having the self-awareness to step back and see that that's not the case. That wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to also be humble enough to understand when you're not there yet.
Or at least be open to
Be
the
open,
possibility
yes.
that sure you may not be there yet, but at least you can get there.
You can get there because you know that you're following in the footsteps of people who are better than you. And just going back to that part where another character learned that it wasn't too late to start over.
Yeah.
Actually, that whole episode around that plotline or storyline is my very favorite episode of this entire season.
Same.
And this storyline is assigned to a beloved character of the show, where I think you guys know who this is
If you've watched it.
if you've watched it. But again, we'll try to keep this as non-spoilery as possible.
Yes.
But long story short, this character thinks that they're past their prime. They think that they can't hang with the young kids anymore.
Yeah.
And it's funny because all of his fears are eventually unfounded. Because first off, it's these same young people that he has disdain for that eventually take him in and understand that character for who they are. And two, it just actually boiled down to having respect.
Yes.
Respect for the people that you work with, respect for the people that came before you, and most of all, respect for yourself. So you said earlier that this show is something of a self-help
Yeah.
book.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because every time we watch this, we've seen the season a couple of times already because
Yes.
it's that good.
Yes.
You'll want to watch it again after you watch it. And actually, on rewatch, you
The
will.
rewatchability value of this show is just so rewarding.
It is. It's very, very rewatchable in that there are many things that you don't notice the first time that actually fall into place the second time, even the third time. There are lines of dialogue. There are actually even blocking, ways that the actors are blocked on the screen or
Yes,
shown
yes.
on the screen that make sense from one episode and then another episode later down the line.
Yes.
It's that attention to detail.
Yeah. You really know that the creator of this show is paying attention.
And that the creator of the show respects the intelligence of the audience to reward them with not really Easter eggs, but the sense that someone who is passionate and loves what they're doing is at the helm of this ship
Yes, that's right.
there. So before we continue gushing on about this show, we'd just like to touch upon real quick on one very important aspect of the season that is actually related to the quote-unquote star-studded episode that we were referring to earlier.
Yeah.
So it's not really all sunshine and unicorns in this show. We've talked about how it sometimes can show how real life can get.
Too real, in fact.
So, yes, this episode in particular dives deep into the concept of generational trauma
Yeah.
that we touched upon as well during the review of season 1 of The Bear.
Yes.
It shows how much a culture of hatred and self-loathing and all these nasty emotions, the very things that you shouldn't expose a child to,
Yeah.
can seriously mess them up later on in life. And so they've already hinted on this during the first few episodes of season 1, where Carmi, Sugar, and Michael's upbringing, when they discuss about it, they don't really talk about it in a positive light.
Yeah.
And this specific episode shows how bad. I don't think there's any other word I can use. It just shows how bad their upbringing is or was.
Yeah. If you ever went through the same thing, it can be triggering.
Yes. So also just I think a trigger warning is needed
Yeah.
because
They
yeah,
didn't have that when we watched it.
that's actually the thing. This episode in season 2 just creeps up on you because of how simple the premise is. It's a simple family gathering. But if you've ever had the experience of being in a family gathering that just goes off the rails very, very quickly, and not just because of things beyond your control, but because of the way certain people conduct themselves with very little regard for what others feel or think.
Yes.
And sometimes, this is through no fault of their own.
Sometimes it's out of their hands.
Exactly. You find out later on in life that the reason why these people are the way they are is because of mental health issues.
But
And-
then their mental issues can affect your mental issues too.
Yes. So I think what the show tries to impart without really getting into detail that much is how important it is to, really be sensitive in how we treat each other and also how we treat ourselves.
Yes.
Because it's a very cliche saying, how are you supposed to love someone else if you can't love yourself?
yeah.
It's very easy to say that,
True.
It's very easy to tell somebody to just, hey, look at yourself in a good light. But sometimes it's easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really want to say that, people should be doing this or should be doing that. I guess I can just leave it at that, where, it's the concept of being more empathetic with each other and more caring for each other. Because this episode that we're
In
referring to,
question, yeah.
yes, the episode in question just absolutely goes off the rails very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Like if we said in the season 1 review of The Bear that the first 5-10 minutes of the show felt like uncut gems, and then it just, relaxes a bit after that. This entire episode is 50 minutes of
Yeah.
uncut gems level tension.
Yeah. It's a double episode.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Uncut Gems was more about tension and violence, but this one is more emotional for me.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You feel this undercurrent of something going wrong at any moment during that episode.
Yeah, you can
That's
never
the
sit
tension.
back. You can never sit back and relax.
That's
Just
where the tension comes from.
true.
So, whereas you said Uncut Gems is just violent, period.
Yes.
This is also, Uncut Gems is tense because it's violent. This is tense. This episode is tense because it's emotional.
True.
There are emotions running high during this family gathering. So just be prepared, especially if you've been in a situation like that.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to see the episode because it informs the show in general. Actually, it answers a lot of questions that you may have had about the characters.
Yes.
But if you want to see the season again, if you want to watch season 2 again, it's okay to just, skip past that and just go to the next one, which is actually, again, one of the best episodes of season 2.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't really want to get into detail about who shows up because, again, we want you to unwrap that surprise for yourself.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll just,
It's quite delightful.
even in that episode, even in that very emotionally tense episode, unexpected faces
Yeah.
come
And
up.
it's an Emmy reel.
Yeah. Well, we said earlier that majority of the cast has been nominated for Emmy Awards.
Yeah.
But just to clarify, they were nominated for season 1
Yes.
of the
yes.
show.
It's quite
So they're
confusing
yeah.
because The Bear was nominated for season 1, but then Succession nominees were nominated for the final season. But Succession came out later, right?
Let me check quickly.
Or
about
they came out about the same time.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. So the eligibility period of the shows for a specific year for the Emmy Awards is between June 1 of the year prior to the ceremony until May 31st of the year of the ceremony.
Okay.
So the reason why Succession season 4 is
included.
included and is in full force nominations wise is because it came out before May 31.
Oh.
And this season came out June.
I see.
So
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I think season 1 came out after June 1st last year as well.
I see.
So that's why even though the buzz is for
Season 2
the second season already and the guest stars that may be nominated as well for their work, they can't be nominated yet because it's not within the
because of the
eligibility.
deadline.
because of the period of eligibility for the 2023 Emmy Awards.
Okay, got it.
Okay. But I'm pretty sure that when next year's Emmy Awards arrive or come up for nominations, every single guest star almost
Yeah.
will get nominated. There's one that I think will even win.
Yes.
So we won't get
One
into
of them
who
really stood out. Yeah.
absolutely stood out in their performance.
And we'll be campaigning for them.
Yes, of course. Of course.
Okay.
So, just real quick, the music for the show is still fantastic. Not just the score, but even again the songs that were selected for the show.
Oh, yes. One of the songs will really stand out.
Yes, you'll never hear this song the same way again.
Yes, absolutely.
It's funny how it can turn a love song into an anthem of self-improvement.
Yes. I'll leave it at
We'll
that.
leave it
Okay?
at that.
Leave it
Yes.
at that.
But again, the rest of the soundtrack is still
Chef's kiss.
yes, literally chef's kiss. It's kind of like how Guardians of the Galaxy began this trend of using story appropriate songs for its soundtrack. I think that's the influence of James Gunn and his use of music is evident here with Christopher Storer. What did you think about the music, the choices of the songs that were on full display during the season?
You're right about James Gunn's style of music selection, that it really relates directly into the story and the character's frame of mind. So yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. Still, the show takes so many creative risks in terms of how it shoots scenes.
Oh yeah, I love that it did what worked the last season,
And actually doubled down on
improving
it.
on it.
Improved on it. It borrows heavily on so many cinematic styles. But when it uses those styles that they borrowed, from other films or TV shows, it does so very well. Like there's this one sequence during that awesome episode, that perfect episode, where two people are talking, and every time they say a line, it just zooms into their face. It's kind of
yeah.
like the way Scorsese would shoot a conversation, an intense conversation between two larger than life personalities. But here, the show uses it in a very not realistic manner, but
Yeah.
rather it shows how the scene in question that follows after it is being readied or primed, or as the audience we're being primed for something awesome that will happen.
Yeah, like I said, maybe that's why the overall feeling that you get from it is very kinetic, it's very active, that it's always so high on energy. It's because of those shots, right? The zoom in on the faces, and then the way they choose how, like how they shoot food documentaries. It's very full of movement. It's
Full of life.
Full of life.
Yeah.
It's never just static or just passive, It's always
Yeah, that's right. I don't think we can say anything more without giving details away.
only just watch it.
Just please watch it. So yeah, actually now we're gonna get to if we recommend it or not, and I think the answer is very clear. We do.
We strongly do.
It's 3 Michelin stars or 5 stars.
How many stars are
I think it's
the most stars you can get from Michelin?
I think it's just 3 Michelin stars. Let me check. Michelin stars.
But 5 stars out of 5.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely.
10 out of 10 score.
And I can't wait for season 3.
Yeah. See, here, for Michelin stars, the most that a restaurant can get is 3.
So 3.
So 3 Michelin stars or 5 stars or 10 stars or how many, just give it all the stars. We want everyone actually to see this. It's not hyperbole in saying that this is one of the more important television shows to come out in recent memory. Not just because of how great it is, but because of how much it imparts. I mean, we're not one to like, or just go for preachy fare
Or something out of hype.
or something out of hype, yeah. Or, shows or more movies that quote unquote teach you a lesson.
It's not that.
But
it's not like that.
It's the us saying that it feels like you want to be a better version of you after you see the show is not an exaggeration.
It's quite introspective.
It helps you look into yourself, see what you need to improve on, and we'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that, where just find it out for yourself. But we promise it's worth it. The 10 episodes, if you choose to binge it in one afternoon,
You can.
time will just fly by with those 10 episodes. We promise. All right, so that's actually it for our non-spoilery review of The Bear Season 2. All right.
Will we perhaps do a spoilery podcast episode?
Well, if the people ask for it, if our fellow Cinegeeks ask for a deep dive, we most certainly will.
Of season 1 and season 2?
Season 1 and 2. Yeah, if they want, if the fellow Cinegeeks that we have would want to listen to that, certainly we will do that.
Yeah.
But right now, we will be ending today's episode of the Cinegeeks Podcast for the Bear Season 2 review. Please don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts: Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We also are, again, now on YouTube. So if you don't have access to podcast platforms, you can just listen to our full episodes
Yes.
there. We upload it every Tuesday and Friday. All right, so we're going to be leaving it at that for the episode of the Cinegeeks Podcast talking about The Bear Season 2. Again, don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts: Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and also we are now on YouTube. We upload full episodes of our podcast over there every Tuesdays and Fridays. So please don't forget to also rate and review the podcast wherever you can. For my lovely co-host Angela, again, this has been Roy. Thank you for listening. And once again, signing off on the Cinegeeks Podcast, where movies, TV, and all things geek collide.